Hello and welcome to this video tutorial where today we'll be covering the subject of lip sync using Toon Animate. When it comes to lip syncing, when you're starting out, this can be one of the trickier subjects to get your head around. So what we'll be doing today is looking at a couple of the ways that I do things in Animate, and hopefully this will get you lip syncing your characters quickly and easily. So we'll look at a couple of ways and you can pick which way you want to go. First off, I'm using Toon Animate version 1. This is the version where we can't really use symbols to animate the lip syncing of our character. We need to use drawings on the cells. But if you've created the drawings of the mouths inside a symbol, we can look at a way where we can expand that symbol and still use it, use the drawings and lip sync that way. So first off, we're going to look at importing sounds and some of the settings we need to look at before we start lip syncing. So down here in the timeline, I'm just going to open these frames up. I'm just going to bring it along so I know that I'm going to have enough frames open that's going to contain the sound file I'm going to bring in. With the sound files, you can import an MP3, a WAV file and an AIFF file. So what we're going to do is import a WAV file. I'm going to import a file that comes bundled with Animate. So I'm going to come to the start of the timeline. Ignore these drawings for the time being. I'm going to switch these off actually. And we're going to import our sound first. So we're going to come up to File, Import Sound. And on the other monitor here I've got the Select Sound File box open. So I'm just going to select the file and bring this in. Now you can see there we've got the file open on its own layer here, and you can see where it contains all the speech, and this is where it goes silent, where we've got the kind of flat line there. So I know that I've got enough frames open. Now if we come up to the top here, we've got the enable sound button. If this is switched off and we press play, we can't hear anything, so we need to have this pressed on for us to play it. So if I play this through here,
a cartoon monster, let me handle that.
Okay, so that gives you a preview of the sound that you've just imported there. And again at the top here we've got another button next to the enable sound button. It looks the same, but it's got this S next to it. Now this is the sound scrubbing button. Now what this will do, if later on we decide to manually lip sync our character rather than use the auto lip sync, we can put the mouth shapes in whilst we listen to segments of the audio file. So what we can do if we enable this now, so I've enabled the scrubbing button. If I grab the header on the timeline, there you go, we can hear the sound of that file piece by piece. So here what we can do there is we can start to drop in and choose the particular mouth shapes we want for that file. So that's where we can use the sound scrubbing feature there if we want to do it that way. So I'm going to turn that off for the moment, and what we want to do now is open the sound editor. Now to do that, you come over to the name of the file there and double click. I'll bring it on from the other screen and it will open this, the sound element editor. And if we look at the boxes here, now this first one, the sound element, this shows you where it is in the timeline. So if we only had 16 frames open, we'd only see this amount of the file. If we click this and highlight it, we now see in this box down here, this is the entire sound file that we've imported. And this here, this is our lip sync preview where we can see all the different mouths we've got there. And then down here we've got play, forward and backward, loop functions here, so we could loop the sound. Here if we typed in 3, you might want to loop the sound of, say, an audience cheering, something like that. If you've got maybe a circus scene and you've got the audience there, you might want to have a small file and then you can loop that sound as many times as you want in there. So what we can do is if we come up here
A cartoon monster. Let me handle that.
So you can see there, we've just previewed that. And what we can do in this bottom panel here, we can actually add pointers. So if you just click on that waveform there, and what will happen here, you can apply different volumes. So you could bring these down and then add new ones and bring them up. So this is where you could kind of fade in and out. So if we go to the start here and now play this,
let me handle that.
so you can see there you've got some options to manipulate the sound there if you like. So that was just to demonstrate that you can fade in and fade out using these pointers here. Okay, so another thing we can do in this top panel where we've got this green marker, this is showing us that at the moment the sound we've got imported actually begins on frame 1. But if we want to begin this at say frame 20, we can just pull this along to 20, and then you'll see down here in the timeline that file is now going to begin at frame 20. So we can do that too. So let's bring this back, and down in this one again, what we can actually do, we can trim out pieces of the audio. So say we want to eliminate this first part, we can actually come in and take that piece out, and from the other end we could do that too. So what we can do now is play this.
Let me handle.
So we can bring this out a bit more.
Let me handle that.
There you go. So we can trim that too, but this doesn't cut out the audio from the file. It just trims it out in the project so you can't hear that piece. So if you want to take that piece out permanently, you want to edit that in an external program. So this is just kind of silencing that piece in Animate. So, you know, if you want to trim down file sizes, maybe cut out any pieces you need to beforehand, then bring them in. But this is a good little thing to have on Animate anyway. We can just trim out some bits of noise and things like that. So it's quite helpful to have that in this editor. And then down here we've got the zoom, which means we can zoom in to that file if we need to get a bit tighter in our editing. So, you know, if we want to come in all the way, then we know we can edit a bit tighter. So I'm just going to bring that out. Okay, so let's set this all back and close this off now. And now if we come back here, what we can do now is open up something called the X sheet. Now this is somewhere else where we can see the sound is displayed in different ways. So what we can do is come up to Window, click X sheet. What this will do, this will bring up a window showing our the sound file in there. So what we can do is display this a number of different ways. If we right click this, come down to sound display, at the moment we've just got the sound name displayed. If we click mouth shapes, this will be where we start animating. The different mouth shape names will appear. When we create mouth shapes, we'll be naming them A, B, C, D, E, F, G and X. X stands for the closed mouth position. A to G are all the different mouth shapes, you know, open, closed, you know, all the different sounds like E, O, R, that kind of thing. And if we right click again and go to waveform, we've pretty much got what we have in the main timeline there. So let's put this back here for the moment, and I'm just going to turn this off again. And down here, because we've got two layers, we've got a mouth layer and a head layer. So if I just turn these on and go back to this X sheet, you'll see now that we have those here too. So you can see the head is this one, and the mouth shapes we've got across 8 frames covering 8 cells, and you can see that the first one is named 1, then 2, then 3. They're just named as the cell numbers. What we can do is change these to letters for the mouth shape, so I can show you how to do that in a little bit too. So let's take this away now, and we'll have a look at the head we've got on the screen here. Now what I've done with the mouth, this is on a separate layer because you want the mouths on a separate layer to animate, because they need to be, you need a different mouth shape on different cells. So I've got that on one layer, so if I switch that off, you'll see we've got a static image on a layer beneath, which is the head layer. So if I scrub through those 8 frames, you'll just see we've got a static image there. If I turn on the mouth layer above, if we scroll through, we've got different mouth shapes. So at the start here, I've got kind of a closed smiling mouth. Then we go through to the different sounds. So here you've got, you know, like the T sound, and then it opens, you know, the ooh, ah here, and then the F sound here, and then I've got another closed mouth position which is not smiling, it's kind of a static closed mouth. So if these were to be the lettered versions, this would be A, B, C, D, E, F, G and X for closed. So that's all the mouth shapes we need for the auto lip sync. Okay, so what we're going to do is stretch these frames out so we know that we're going to cover this sound file. So if we come out here on the head layer at around 110, I'm just going to hit F5, and again on the mouth layer there. Now you'll see at the start we've got all our mouth shapes, and then that last mouth shape just extends the duration as we go. So to get this lip synced in the auto lip sync fashion, what we need to do is come up to the timeline on the sound file. So we're just going to come over here, anywhere you want, just come into that sound file, click on a cell, then right click, lip sync, auto lip sync detection. Okay, so what that's done, that's gone in and it's done some work there. Now what we need to do, right click again, lip sync, map lip sync. So we click this, now this will appear. Now this is where we need to pay a bit of attention if we've got more layers here. As at the moment we know we've just got 2 layers to choose from. We've got a head and a mouth layer. Now if you've got a full body there, you're going to have things like torso, legs, hands. So make sure you select the mouth layer, or whatever layer you've got the mouths on and you've named it that way. So we're going to select mouth. Now at the moment, the mouth shapes as it stands at the moment on the timeline, we know that we've called these 1 to 8. They're not named A, B, C, D, E, F, G and X. So as it stands at the moment, we need to go in, and it's saying that what is the name of the A mouth shape. So we know that's 1, so we're going to type that in. We're just going to go through and type in the numbers. So this is cell 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we know we've got the 8 mouth shapes. So we just click OK. Now when you come down to this timeline, those first 8 mouth shapes in that sequence have disappeared. What's happened, where we've right clicked this sound file, what we've done is here in lip sync, when we've gone to auto lip sync detection, it's kind of figured out what mouth shapes will go where. And then what we've done, we've come in and with map lip sync we've told it the name of those mouth shapes. So what it's done, it's kind of shuffled them around in the correct order. So now if we go back to the beginning, what we can do is press play at the top here, making sure the sound is enabled. Click play.
A cartoon monster. Let me handle that.
And there you go. That's the simplest form of lip syncing. So what we do, we come to the start, Obviously, for this character, I mean, this is a character of a young boy, so it was quite a deep voice for him. But I thought I'd just use the sound file included in Animate, because then that way you can practice the same way. And you'll notice at the end of this, the head disappeared. All that was where the file that I imported is just a little longer than the frames there, so we can just extend these to match, like so. So if we go back to the beginning, I'm just going to play this again.
A cartoon monster. Let me handle that.
And there you go. And what we can do, if we come over to the right here, we've got tool properties open at the moment. I'm going to click on library. At the moment I'm on the head layer, so it's just going to show the static head. If we come up to the mouth layer, we'll be able to scroll through and see all the different mouth shapes you've got, and you can see in this field the names. So we've named these 1 to 8. So what we can do here, this is where we can start to fine tune the animation, because we could turn on sound scrubbing and we could come through. So you can see here, when we go through slowly, you can see how those mouths have been mapped to that file. And also, when I'm scrolling through, you watch this drawing substitution field here. We're getting a preview in there too. So what we can do here, if we feel that one of the mouth shapes doesn't fit quite right, because on occasion it'll pick the mouths that it thinks are best suited, but on occasion you might think, well, this one might fit a bit better. What you can do, you can come in. So here, if I click here, we've got mouth number 3 showing up. What we can do, if we want to change that, we could literally move that along. So maybe we would want that to be a more open mouth perhaps, and it's updated here. So you see here, this is the M sound, it's going let me decide. And we've got the O mouth there. So what we could do here is come here. You can see where this one's starting, because you've got that little line break. Then we can come up and we can find a M sound. So maybe we could use 1 or 8. So maybe we'll go for 8. So that fits a bit better. So on occasion the auto lip sync needs a bit of fine tuning, so we've got that option too. So as long as we're on the mouth layer, we can come in, open up the library, make sure you're on the correct layer, and then we can fine tune those drawing substitutions to get a tighter lip sync in there. Let's open up the X sheet as well now. So Windows X sheet, and what we can see here now is in our mouth layer we can see where the mouth changes on each cell. So on cell 1 it's mouth shape 2, frame 4 it's 4, 7 we've got mouth shape 2, and so on. So this goes all the way down to the end of the WAV file. What we can do here is we could change the name of these numbers to the letters, like the A, B, C, D, E, F, G and X. So you could rename them here by right clicking, say number 2, go to drawings, rename drawing, and calling this, so mouth shape 2 would be B obviously, so you'd go B, OK that, and then you'll see here that each frame that was 2 has now changed to B. So you could go through and change 1 to A, 5 to E, and so on. But I mean, when you scroll through here, there'd still be the same there until you change them, and then when you come in and go through, they'll change to the letter that way. You couldn't come in and change them on the timeline here, but I mean, if you're working with just 8 mouse shapes, you know that 1 represents A, 2 is B. There's not too much to worry about, but this is just an option to show you how to change that. So if we go through and change all these, so if we was to right click 4, so 4 would be D, so let's change that to D. That'll go through and change them all. 6 would be, let's come down, so 6 would be A, B, C, D, E, F, so let's change that to F. 5 would be E, so rename drawing to E. 3 is C. 8 is your X. Let's come down because we've probably got, oh yeah, we've got 1 which is A. Now I think that was all of them. Yep, so let's come back out. Now what we got is when we scroll through here, we've got A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Oh, G we've missed. So G, that's if that animation used a G shape. 7, there we are. Rename drawing to G. So that's all of them now. So if we go through here, there we go, we've renamed them that way, but you'll see on here it's not doing anything now, because remember we mapped the audio to be the numbers 1 to 8. So what we need to do is again rig this up. So we'd go right click lip sync, we could click auto lip sync detection again just to make sure, then go lip sync, map lip sync, and here we go. If we, it's gone back to this now, so it's automatically gone A through to X. Again, make sure you're on the correct layer, go OK. There we go. So let's go back to the start and play this.
A cartoon monster. Let me handle that.
So there you go, we've renamed them from the numbers to the letters. So we did it that way. If we was to come down here and over to this drawing substitution and change D to 4, it's just not going to work. It's going to go back to D. So that's just one of the ways we can change the names, because sometimes people get a bit confused with, because what'll happen when you draw on a cell, say you draw on cell number 1, it's automatically just going to name that number 1, then you draw on cell 2, it's going to name that number 2, and so on. So we have to work a little differently if we want to rename those as letters. So I'm just going to save this file down now with the audio clip in there, and what I'll do, I'll include this file in with the video package so you can go through this yourselves and practice scrubbing through. So click on the scrub button and you can practice swapping these around and so on. So I'm just going to pause the video, I'm going to save this down, and then we'll move on to the next part. Okay, I've just saved that file down, so that will be in the bundle. What I want to do is quickly go over this idea of creating the drawings from scratch for the mouths, but calling them A, B, C, D, E, F, G and X. As we know, if we start drawing on a cell, it's automatically going to name it the cell's number, 1, 2, 3, etc. So for example, if I create a new layer, new drawing layer, so say on the first cell, I click that and I start painting in there, come across here, it's automatically going to name that 1, and we can't really change that. So what we need to do is work a little differently. So I'm going to trace these mouth shapes we've got. So at the moment, in this layer, the mouth layer, we know that this is named 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. You can see it updating here in the drawing substitution field. So what we're going to do, we're going to pretend that those don't exist and we're going to draw them from scratch, but I'm going to trace them in a new layer just to make it a bit easier to draw. So what we need to do here, rather than just go straight in and start drawing, we need to work things a little differently. So in the first cell, we need to click the first cell, right click it, go up to create empty drawing. Now what this will do, this will create a grey box here, but it's going to be empty at the moment, so it's created a nice empty box for us to draw in. So what we'll do is we'll draw the mouth shape, the A mouth shape in there, which we know on the first frame is this closed one. So I'm going to lock this mouth layer, and what we're going to do is I'm going to just roughly trace these mouths at the moment. I'm not going to go into any great detail, and just for the purpose of this lesson I'm going to just jot it in a red colour. So grab the brush tool, so we're working in an empty cell now, so I'm just going to come in and do this. So I'm very loosely copying this. So if I were to turn off that mouth layer, say we've just drawn this, so now we've drawn in that empty cell, what we now need to do is right click again. Okay, so we right click and we need to, let's make sure we clicked on there, come up to rename drawing. So make sure you select it and then right click, otherwise rename drawing won't be available. So rename drawing, and in this field we'll call this one A. So that's locked down now, that's actually called that drawing A as opposed to 1. So we just continue this process. So in the next cell we click in it, we right click, create empty drawing. I'm going to turn on the mouth layer. As we know, we're on the second cell, so this is our second mouth shape, which will be labelled B. So again, I'm just going to come in, crudely draw this. I mean, I'm just going to, very roughly put this in, turn this one off again, so we've got this one. So make sure this cell is selected, then right click it, come up to rename drawing, or the shortcut is Control Alt and D, but I'll keep using the right click way of doing things, so you can drill in where we're going, so you know where to go each time. So we'll call this B. So now we've got an A and a B drawing. Let's go on to cell 3. Again, we select it and we right click. Don't just go drawing in there. So it's right click, create empty drawing to create a nice empty box. Then we start drawing again. So let's draw in another rough mouth, just like this. Make sure you selected that cell, right click, rename drawing, and this one's C. Okay, so into the next one, empty cell, right click, create empty drawing. This is the same mouth as the one before, but just a bit wider. Okay, so don't forget this part. Once you've drawn it, make sure you select the cell down in the timeline here, right click, rename drawing. Ooh. See, I didn't select that properly then, so rename drawing, and that's D because that's the fourth one along. So we're halfway there now. I could pause the video at this point, but I think it's important to drill this process in to make sure that we get it correct. So let's Okay, so select just that one cell. I think what I did before was select 2. Rename drawing, this will be E. Empty cell. Okay. Let's right click this one. So this will be F. Next one is G. Okay, create empty drawing. This is always my favourite mouth shape. I think it just looks very cartoony. It's just that bottom lip piece that I like here, who's biting down on the bottom lip. So there we go, and let's right click, oops, make sure I select that. So if the rename drawing option isn't available, that means you haven't selected it properly. So this is, as we were saying, this is G, and finally onto X. So we must right click, create empty drawing, and draw this, and right click to rename, and this is your X mouth shape, which is your closed mouth. We've got 2 of those, one at the start, one at the end. So now if we scroll through, if you watch here in the drawing substitution, we'll see everything's named A, B, C, D, E, F, G and X. So if we select this one, whereas on this layer the original is named 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So let's turn this layer off. Let's go up to this layer. I'm going to pull out some frames, and I'm going to import that dialogue file. Okay, so this is Cartoon Monster. Okay, so we've got that there. What we're going to do is extend up to the point at the end of here. So let's F5, and the same with the head layer. F5. Okay, so let's come back to the start. Oh, let's turn that layer on. So what we need to do here is, what I'm going to do is, to make things easier, I'm going to delete the original mouth layer now. So I'm going to delete that, and where we drew the new mouth shapes, this is called drawing at the moment, so I'm going to rename this mouth. Okay, and then what we need to do, come up to the dialogue file, so we can right click absolutely anywhere in that file, it doesn't matter where. We could go lip sync, auto lip sync detection, that'll do its business, and then right click again, lip sync, map lip sync, and here we don't need to do anything. We know that each mouth shape, the corresponding letters are exactly the same, whereas before we had the cell numbers, so A was number 1, B was 2, C 3 and so on. So working with numbers isn't a problem because we've only got the 8 mouth shapes, so it's pretty easy to remember which is which. But if you prefer to work this way, having the corresponding letters, if that's the best way for you to do it, then this is the way to go about it. Create an empty drawing cell in that layer, draw in it, then rename it, and then you're good to go. And of course at the top here, your destination layer that you're going to lip sync, make sure you're on the correct layer. So as we said earlier, if you've got a full body and you've got hand layers and leg layers, make sure you're on the layer that contains the mouth drawings. So we'll do that, click OK, and as you can see down here it's broke it apart and it's come up with the best system it can figure out for auto lip syncing. So if we scroll through, you'll see there that it's done its business, and we've lip synced using the letters. So if we go to the start and play this through.
A cartoon monster. Let me handle that.
And of course, you can also, as before, you can scrub through this, and so you could come to here and you could change that to D or A, B, and so on and so forth. So whatever way, you know, if you feel like you need a different mouse shape in there, you can come in and tweak that. So hopefully that covers up the process of naming the cells, because I know sometimes it can get a bit confusing when you're trying to rename a cell from 1 to A. Sometimes it doesn't work. So this is the best way to do it. Remember to create the empty drawing on the layer, so you've got a nice empty cell. So just think of it as an empty box. Draw in it, then right click that cell, rename the drawing to the letter it needs to be, you know, the A, B, C, and so on. And then when you auto lip sync, you know, you'll work it in that system. So I hope that helps that out. So covers that. So we've covered so far we've covered lip syncing using the auto lip sync, and we've done it two different naming convention ways. So we've done it with the numbers and the letters, and also what we've done with this file. I mean, the original head we had, you know, we've got this static head, and the mouth layer is just separate. So what we've got at the moment, we've got a head, the jaw doesn't move. We've just got a version where the mouth moves inside the head. So we've got no movement in the jaw there. So what we're going to do is move on to another new file. It's the same head, but what I've done, I've kind of rigged it up a little bit differently so that we can animate it and have a bit of movement in that jaw. So it's the same process but just drawn slightly differently. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to close this file down, pause the video, then we'll move on to the next file. So I've just saved down that file, and what I've done, I've opened a new one. Now it looks exactly the same, but there's a slight difference in this one. What we had in the previous version was we had the same two layers, the head and the mouth. The head layer was the entire head as a static image, and then the mouth was just the separate mouths. What we've got the same layer set up, but in the head layer I've cut out the jaw. So we've got this image here, and the mouth layer is the mouth shapes with the jaw, with a slight change on the jaw. So when we move to each mouth shape, so here the jaw opens a bit more, comes in, puffs out, comes in, and the static pose there when the mouth is closed. So this just adds a bit more animation to our character. If you're working on your own on a production, you know, I mean, this could take a little bit more time to set up, but not a great deal. So it's worth doing if you want a bit more movement in your character. So if you're on a time restriction, you know, work the other way, just have the mouths on top. But you know, it gives you another option if you want to do it this way, just adds a bit more movement. So all we're going to do is just quickly cover what we did in the last segment, just to show you the movement. So I'm just going to come down here and pull out this timeline, so I know we've got enough room for the sound file. I'm going to import the same sound file again. So let's open this up, and Cartoon Monster, bring this in. So here we are, we've got the sound file on its own layer. What I'm going to do is extend these layers to match. So I'm just going to hit F5 to expose that a bit more. And on the mouth layer, the first 8 cells are the different mouths, and on this occasion I've named them 1 to 8, so I've not done the letter extensions on this one. We're working with the numbers on this one here. So all we need to do is right click onto our sound file. I've just noticed in the join substitution, funny enough, I've named all these mouths the numbers, but for some reason the first one I've named 01 then I've named 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've added an O at the start of that, so I'll need to be aware of that when we map the mouth shape. So let's come back to our audio layer here. Right click, lip sync, auto lip sync detection, and right click again, map lip sync, and here obviously make sure we've got the correct layer, and I'm going to change these. So this one, as I said, would be 01, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we click that, and now we see the mouth layer has updated. It's spread out the mouth shapes along with the dialogue file, so it's kind of figured out where they need to be for this animation. So if we make sure we've got sound enabled, we'll come to the start and play this, and you can see the movement in the jaw this time.
A cartoon monster. Let me handle that.
Okay, let's play that again.
A cartoon monster. Let me handle that.
So you can see there's a slight bit of movement in the jaw there, which adds a bit more to your character. Again, you know, you can press the scrub button and you can come through. So you can assign mouth shapes that way too. And also, I mean, you don't have to just change these, you can also add more in. So this empty space here, you know, I mean, you could add one there and change it if you needed to, but we don't need to do anything there. But that's just to show that you can add more in there if need be. So that covers this way of working too. So what I'll do, I'll include this file in with a package too, so you've got the previous one and this one, just so you can pull apart the drawing and you can see how it all works, and you know, maybe practice alongside this head drawing your own character, so you can practice your drawing techniques along with a new character for yourself, and see if you can, you know, work these techniques in. So what we'll do, we'll move on to the next method, and I'll pause the video and I'll open the next file.